Hello everyone, Just Podcast TV is here. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified on new contents.
241. Let's see if I can break it. After Kate used her phone to scan the red packet, Xena quickly leaned over to take a look. When she saw the words 100 on the screen, she said in surprise, "Grandfather giving me 100 is inexcusable. Why are you also getting $100? This also made Kate feel quite surprised. Originally, she felt that it was not appropriate to give too much to be seen by others. But now, he actually gave her $100. This made her somewhat unable to understand. She was 100, and Xena was also 100. Could it be that they were familiar with each other? In the next moment, Kate took a look at the red packet in Zach's pocket and snatched it without giving him a chance to explain. After sweeping through the red packet with her phone, she found out that it was the fuck. It was really familiar. Zach was also $100. Xena was very depressed. In the past, Grandfather was very generous. What happened today? Why did he give me only $100? Seriously? Zach laughed and said, "Isn't it simple? Do we not already benefit from the old man? Our friends, however, this is an unbelievable boon." Kate suddenly realized. So, that's how it is. That's pretty good. The meaning is very good. As she spoke, she smiled. It could be seen that she really liked this meaning. She did not mind how much money she had. Anyway, her husband had plenty of money. The thing she didn't need to worry about the most right now was money. Working at work was just for her hobbies. If she was really worried about money, she was also worried about how Zach would spend the money. She was carrying a bag that cost a few $100s. It was sprayed with jasmine perfume, and the car she was driving was an R8 that was also bought by Zach previously. Otherwise, she would buy at most an A4L. In Zach's words, she would not even spend money. But she also felt that it was quite good. It was enough that she looked beautiful. Why did she have to have all kinds of branded goods? She didn't understand the psychology of those women. Of course, other people's beauty needed to be adorned to set off the contrast. Her beauty no longer needed to be offset, so she naturally did not understand. On the side, Xena made a serious protest. "I don't accept it. I don't believe the reason you said. I want to call Grandpa." Just as Xena finished her protest, Zach said to her, "Perfect are you, Kate. Grandpa wants to tell you that everything will go according to you." Xena was slightly stunned before she stopped her threatening protest. Thinking about it carefully, she felt that Zach's analysis was quite right. Kate was indeed perfect. As for her, perfect was not a descriptor. She was still lacking in obedience. Hence, in order to not let Kate continue to compete, she immediately pretended to be a good girl. "Brother," she said, "in the future, I will listen to whatever you say. Anything." Zach did not listen to Xena. This rabbit, barking. Listening to her, he had already been cheated to death 800 times. Sure enough, before the cigarette was finished, Xena pouted again. "Brother, I don't have any money. What should I do?" Zach turned to look at Xena. "What do you want money for? I've never seen you spend money before. I've never seen you extort money from me." Xena replied subconsciously, "Because I have saved up." Zach and Kate were both amused. Xena was actually still messing around with her private savings. In the following time, no matter what Zach asked, Xena did not open her mouth and firmly did not expose her savings. He asked about the reason for the existence of the little treasury. Xena didn't say either. Xena only spoke after Zach offered $20 million to tempt her. "It's not like I'm the heir to the fortune. What if you don't want me anymore? What should I do?" When she said this, Xena pouted her little mouth, looking very pitiful, especially the small grievance in her words. It made people's ears hurt even more when they heard it. Before Zach could say anything, Kate held Xena in her arms first. "Silly Xena, with me, I still have a lot of shares in the company. It is enough for the two of us to have a good life in the future. After that, we will have to travel around the world. Xena was very touched. She felt that Kate really treated her very well. She was always thinking of herself and was like a big sister. After playing crazily for 3 days, everyone was having fun, happily, and had the most unforgettable New Year's in their lives. However, this was not home after all. They had to continue living their days. Therefore, 3 days later, Larry went to find Zach. Director Marquez, I have to go back. I still have to go to my mother's house with the two of them after the New Year. I want to see my mother-in-law. Of course, that was what he should do. Thus, Zach arranged for people to bring some local specialties for Larry to bring along. Before they could make the arrangements, Lance also spoke. Director Marquez, I have to go back too. I kidnapped my Marie before I even saw my mother-in-law. If I don't come back soon, my mother-in-law will beat me up. As soon as Lance finished speaking, Marie playfully gave him a punch. What nonsense are you talking about? My mother doesn't know you. She said so. However, Marie still politely said goodbye to Zach and thanked him for his hospitality. After Marie exposed her gratitude, Kendrick also came over. He had already thought about it. He had to go to Tess's house to take a look. Now that Tess had agreed to be friends with him, it was not good for him to not even go to the door for the New Year. Regardless of whether he would succeed in the future or not, he must not miss the ceremony. However, before he could say anything, Zach said, All right, don't say any more. I know you have to go see your mother-in-law too. After blocking Kendrick with one sentence, Zach continued, That's good. Anyway, it's almost time to leave. I don't want to stay at home for 2 or 3 days. I'll get someone to arrange for us to get off the plane. We'll leave in the afternoon. Zach's suggestion made everyone secretly happy. After all, not everyone could take a private plane. Furthermore, it was a private plane with a fighter plane accompanying it. After sitting on this bulwark, they didn't know if there would be a next time. From a certain perspective, this might be the pinnacle of their lives. Xena was unhappy when Zach called everyone to leave. She said to Zach, Brother, I want to go out too. I feel bored on the island. Zach asked with a smile, What about the agreement to follow everything I say? Xena replied confidently, I didn't say anything. I don't remember. I have child amnesia and dementia. Zach did not say a word about this kind of self-righteous splash. Even Kate, who was beside him, was amused. Walking to Xena's side, Kate held her hand and said to Zach, Bring Xena out to have fun. Such a big girl. How boring would it be to hold it on the island all day long? Furthermore, even if she was a prisoner, she still has to let out some air. You still don't allow people to get out? That's right! That's right! I have been stifled on the island all day long. After agreeing, Xena sweetly hugged Kate. My sister Kate is the best to me, better than brother. Zach was speechless. Episode 242, Just Messing Around. Zach and the others were ready to leave after bidding farewell to Quincy. Before they left, Zach asked Quincy once more, Are you really not going to tell me what information you have left on the Golden Award? Quincy shook his head with a smile. I don't even have a clue. Just give up. Zach was about to leave when Quincy said again, Last time, I did not cheat you. I still have a chance. After cheating on me, ha ha! Zach turned his head and replied, You old fox, forget it. Do you want me to feel regret? He didn't know about the old fox's tricks. When he was young, he was tricked by the old fox. Otherwise, how could there be so many smart people in the world? They had suffered too many losses and were tricked into being smart. As soon as Zach left Quincy's side, he saw Lewis walking towards him. Hey Lewis, we can't find you anywhere. You didn't even pick up your phone. We were going to leave you here by yourself. You. As Zach was talking, Lewis waved his hand. All right, you guys can leave first. I'll be back in a few days. When Zach heard what Lewis said, he suddenly realized something. As I said, Lewis's face became more and more comfortable. It's growing in reverse. Combining it with Zach's, there was also a way to address him. Lewis immediately understood what he meant. He couldn't help but blush, but he knew how to play more than Quincy. Director Marquez, I'm going to resign. Zach was anxious. Lewis, don't. I was wrong, okay? After repeatedly apologizing, Lewis said proudly, all right then, depends on my mood. If my mood is good, I will go back. After saying that, he turned around and left complacently. Zach was speechless. This old man, who had been nourished by love, was different. He was full of killing intent. After lunch, Zach went to his third uncle, Kyle. He was his third uncle after all. He had not completely shed all pretenses of cordiality, so his seniority naturally could not be messed up. Kyle, I'm preparing to go back. I came over to say goodbye to you. Yes, go back. Have a safe journey. It was unknown whether it was intentional or not, but Kyle actually wished that the people on the plane could have a safe journey. Where could they have gone? In the sea? Furthermore, he also got a chair for old men. It was similar to Quincy's chair, which looked like it had no years. Lying on the chair, Kyle swayed as he basked in the sun, as if he was preparing to retire in advance. Seeing that Kyle had no intention of chatting, Zach took his sleeve and prepared to leave. But just as he turned around and left, Kyle's voice came from behind. Be careful of Michael. Zach stopped walking and turned around in surprise. Kyle, what did you say? Kyle was still wobbling. What did I say? I didn't say anything. Did you hear wrongly? Oh, maybe. Then I'm leaving, Kyle. Zach greeted him warmly, but when he turned around, he frowned. He did not understand what Kyle meant. Why did Kyle remind him to be careful of Michael? Was he trying to sow discord between him and Michael, asking him to attack Michael? Or was he thinking of something else? Zach couldn't figure it out. But there was one thing that he didn't think was right. Whether it was Michael preparing to make a move, or Kyle preparing to frame Michael, he had to be careful. Kyle's warning would not come without reason. Once he awakened the poisonous snake raised in his head, it would bite. After leaving Kyle's place, Zach went to Michael's place. At this time, Michael was just about to leave the house when he was blocked by Zach at the door. Brother Michael, I'm going to leave. I'm so bored at home. I'm going out for a walk. Michael put on a stern face and acted like a big brother. Brother Zach, can you help the family a little? Don't just walk around all day. I heard that you set up a company some time ago. I thought you wanted to share some of the burden with the family. At that time, I was very happy. Zach quickly waved his hand. Forget it. I'm not in the mood to do this. Let's talk about that company. There was a fool who laughed at me before. He said that the money I've seen in my life was not as much as the money he spent. How could I be convinced of this? I used the money to splash him to death at that time. Well, the company was bought. I kicked that idiot. Now that you see me, you still have to call me Master Zach. How wonderful. Michael secretly laughed in his heart, but his face showed that he was disappointed in his failure to meet his expectations. You really? Zach laughed and then said, By the way, Brother Michael, the old fox pinched my money. Recently, my neck had been really tight. You don't even know that I purposely brought back some people, and only then did I get tens of millions of dollars of pocket money from the old fox. Brother Michael, our relationship is so good. Help me out a little. You only know how to spend money randomly. When will you be able to share some of the pressure from my shoulders? After another round of scolding, Michael said, How about this? I don't have enough money recently. I just invested in a project for a big family. Wait for my call later. I'll call you later. That's all. I still have to talk about the project. Michael patted Zach on the shoulder. He did not want to leave a single cent behind, so he left. He just left. but he turned around and said, "You don't know how to share the pressure with me. Don't mess around in the future. There are more than 20 people. Why are you wandering around all day? If you have time, learn to do business with me." Zach curled his lips, put his hands in his pockets, and left, with a cigarette in his mouth. He knew how to do it too. Not only did he leave, but he also deliberately muttered, "Why are you pretending to be a wall? The money belongs to Grandpa. Fuck." When Michael heard this, he only pretended not to hear it. With his back facing Zach, he revealed a proud smile. The more downtrodden Zach was, the happier he would be. If one day he disappeared, just like his father, that would be great. After leaving the island, Zach and the others boarded the private plane and flew back. The number of people on the plane was still the same. The only difference was that Louis stayed behind, but Xena followed them and gathered their heads. "I only got some light from you and Grandpa. I can still take our family's private plane. Normally, I don't even have the qualifications to come out. Alright, last time I took a private plane back and even pulled your car, but now it's mine." As if she had snatched away someone else's beloved toy, Xena appeared especially pleased with herself, especially since she was able to come out to relax this time. Xena became even more pleased with herself. Along the way, she was discussing with Kate about where to have fun and why she had to kidnap Xena to go on a vacation. But it was also okay. Kate sat at the company all day long, while Xena stayed on the island all day long. The beautiful mountains and rivers of the country were just waiting, so they went out to take a look. It was also good to relax and be in a good mood. However, out of safety considerations, Zach felt that it was better to add Madison. With her around, safety was guaranteed. However, when they just returned to the country, Madison took Zach away that night and brought him to the underground garage. In the underground garage, Zach saw a man, a very familiar man, a man who should not have appeared after being sent to prison. Ashton? Episode 243, Obnoxious. Zach couldn't figure out, no matter how hard he tried. Wasn't Ashton in prison? How did he get out? He turned to look at Madison, and she gave him the answer. "I already told you before the new year. Someone was looking around downstairs. That person was him. He unlocked the door on the night of New Year's Eve. He still has a knife on him. He asked me to tie it up and throw it here. I've already asked what I should ask in the past few days. So, how is he going to solve it now? Can you give me a suggestion?" Zach did not have any suggestions. He needed to know what Ashton's purpose of coming back was. He needed to know what it meant to pry into Ashton's house with a knife. Madison said, "He said it was Michael who helped him to get it out. He asked Michael to protect Kate and treat her. Then he told him to shave Kate's face. If he did, he would give him $10 million. Ashton said what? What Ashton knew might not be accurate, right? When Madison asked how Ashton was going to deal with it, Zach waved his hand and said, "Do as you wish." For human life, a casual word was already used. Madison naturally would not be silly enough to slap him again. So that night, Ashton disappeared from this world. Downstairs, Zach said to Madison, who had finished dealing with Ashton, "Before I left, I went to see my third uncle. He told me that he wanted me to be careful of Michael. I don't quite understand what he meant. Did he use Ashton to investigate me to teach Michael a lesson? Or did he discover what Michael wanted to do, and he purposely borrowed my hand to teach Michael a lesson?" Madison asked. "Is there a difference in this matter?" Zach replied, "Of course there is. Although the result is the same, the starting point is different. The punishment will naturally be different." Madison nodded and took out a piece of paper from her pocket. There was a portrait on the paper. It was a man with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He looked quite fierce. However, Zach was certain that he had never seen this man before. Madison said from the side, "This is the person who went to find Ashton and brought him back. There is no news about him. Zach responded and then said to Madison, "Take a photo and send it to Mason. Mason will think of a way to find this person. I have already sent it." Madison did things with such ease. She did not need Zach's instructions. After chatting for a while, Zach mentioned the matter of Kate accompanying Xena on a vacation. Madison indicated that it did not matter. Whether it was at home or outside, she could take care of their safety. Regarding this, Zach was still very grateful. Although it was a master-servant relationship, he didn't really treat Madison as a servant. It was also because of this that Madison took care of this family for him, like she was taking care of her younger brother. After returning home, Zach and the others had a good rest. The next morning, when Zach woke up, Kate, Xena, and Madison had already left the house. Zach did not pay attention to the specific itinerary. Anyway, with Madison accompanying him, he was completely at ease. After washing up and going out, Zach found a professional monitoring and installation staff and came to the house to install the monitoring. In the past, he did not need this kind of thing, but now he couldn't be without it. He had to be careful. He didn't want any accidents to happen. However, when he arrived at the monitoring installation shop, he was mocked. "How rich is your family? They installed surveillance cameras on the 5th day of January. Are you afraid they will steal money? Or are you afraid that they will steal your money?" Just as he mentioned this to the owner of the monitoring shop, he was mocked by the fat woman beside him. Zach looked at her in surprise. "Is there something wrong with you? What does it have to do with you if I set up the surveillance cameras?" For some reason, he had been scolded the moment he entered, which made Zach very unhappy. The shop owner quickly tried to persuade him. Don't be angry. This is my ex-wife. She just quarreled with me, so she got angry and said something rude. Don't mind her." The shop owner tried to smooth things over, but the fat girl didn't care at all. "You don't have much money at home, and you still pretend to be rich by installing surveillance cameras at home. Look at you. You're so poor. You're a street vendor. You might as well buy a few good clothes with the money you were going to use to install surveillance cameras. It's New Year after all. You should pretend to be rich." Zach understood that the fat woman was trying to mess things up. She didn't want the shop owner to accept his business. However, there were many ways to cause trouble. It wasn't appropriate to start a fight against him. He didn't want to waste any more time talking to the fat girl. It would be embarrassing if he lost the fight, and if she won. Zach remembered that there was a Mercedes-Benz A180 outside, so he asked the shop owner, "Is that car hers?" The shop owner didn't quite understand what Zach meant, but he still nodded and agreed. "It's hers." The fat girl was quite proud. "What's wrong? Do you have a Mercedes-Benz? Look at you, you poor bastard." Zach ignored her and headed straight for the door. There was no space for him to park the car just now. He parked the car in the distance, so he had to walk a ways. After getting in the car, he stepped on the accelerator. With a bang, the Mercedes-Benz was knocked over by Zach's G63. Half of the Mercedes-Benz was on the ground, and it looked like a frog that had been turned sideways. The fat woman, who was proud of herself in the shop, was stunned. She never thought that Zach would dare to hit her car. She rushed over in anger and yelled like a pig that had been slaughtered. However, when she saw that Zach was in a G63 car, she was dumbfounded. Her small Mercedes-Benz was obviously not as valuable as Zach's G63. That was why she felt that her fat face had been severely slapped when she scolded Zach for being poor. But even so, she still shouted angrily, "Call the police! How dare you hit my car! Call the police!" The fat girl had already thought it through. Zach was most likely a rich man with money. Therefore, when she made a fuss and called the police, Zach would definitely throw money at her face. It would be best to smash her face with a Mercedes-Benz S600. That would be great. However, in Zach's opinion, the fat girl really wanted to go blind. After getting out of the car, he directly dialed the emergency police number and told them the location and situation. The fat woman didn't know what Zach wanted to do. This was different from what she had expected. Why did he call the police? Not long after, the traffic police drove a police car over and asked about the cause of the accident. Police comrade, he deliberately drove into my car. There are surveillance records at their door. All of these can be proved. The fat woman complained to the police. What she said was the truth. Unfortunately, Zach did not admit it. He said, I did not do it on purpose. When I was driving, I suddenly felt a little dizzy. My vision went dark, and I ran into it. I called the police. I was the one who called. Come, you guys check my drunk driving first. The traffic policeman was amused. You know the process of handling the accident pretty well. Of course, Zach knew. If he didn't, why would he use such a method to deal with this foul-mouthed, fat woman? Episode 244. You're not allowed to refuse. The alcohol tester blew up and didn't show that Zach had been driving drunk, so the traffic police officer asked some other related questions and said to Zach, the content of the accident is very clear. You are fully responsible for it. This lady is not responsible. You should go to the insurance company and keep it private. The fat woman put her hands on her waist and was especially proud. I let you go crazy. Fuck! You even dare to hit my car! The traffic policeman looked at the fat woman and shook his head helplessly. However, the matter of poor quality was not their responsibility. They were only responsible for handling the accident. Zach chuckled. He did not even look at the fat woman, much less argue with her. He only said to the traffic policeman, I have an objection to you enforcing the law. I refuse to do it privately. The traffic policeman was stunned. He felt that there was nothing wrong with what he had done. Why did he have an objection to enforcing the law? He even advised Zach, you better think it through. No matter how big of a relationship you have with this matter, you can't turn black into white. The traffic police thought that Zach wanted to use his connections to divide the responsibility of the accident to the fat woman. This was obviously impossible. The rules favored the fat woman because her car was parked in the parking lot. If Zach bumped into it, how could she possibly share the responsibility? No matter how big the relationship was, it was impossible to help him make this kind of blind division. The fat woman beside him was even more proud of herself. She even took out her phone to record the video. Look! This person hit my car, and he actually wants to use his connections to say that it was my fault. What's the big deal about having connections? What's the big deal about having money? It's a lawful society now. She had scolded Zach as a poor man before, and now she had changed her mind and said that Zach was rich and that he was great. The fat woman actually did not feel that there was anything wrong with him. It seemed like she was going to do whatever she wanted. Fortunately, Zach never thought of using his connections. Why did he need to use his connections? It was a legal society after all. Everything was based on the law. So Zach said to the police officer, Officer, call for a tow truck. Drag these two cars to the traffic police's accident courtyard first. Then we'll follow the procedure. The traffic police suddenly understood. Zach was not right with people. Moreover, it was not directed at him, but at the fat woman. What did he have to say about the law enforcement? Zach had to have something to say about private matters. Zach had never thought about this matter at all. Just like this, the fat girl was still hooting. If you want to drag it out, then drag it out. I don't believe that in broad daylight, the responsibility will fall on me. Signing, processing, calling for a tow truck. The two cars were all dragged away, and the traffic police was also gone. The fat woman clapped. She didn't take any pictures, so she put her phone away. At this time, Zach walked in front of her and said with a smile, Silly fatty, I don't want my car anymore. Don't take your car either. Let's throw ourselves into the traffic police team. If you want to sue, you can do whatever you want. Sigh, I won't deal with it. If I force it, I won't pay the fine either. Weren't you demanding just now? If you really were serious about this, you wouldn't be playing around. Why should I care what you do with your car? You hit me. The blame falls on you. Silly woman. After giving the fat woman a gorgeous and noble title, Zach went into the monitoring shop. He left the fat girl alone outside in a mess. This was what he was doing? Previously, the fat woman wanted to use this matter to extort Zach, but she didn't expect Zach to play such a trick. Zach actually didn't want the car anymore. The fat woman did not want it anymore. She went back to the house to look for Zach, but he didn't care about her at all. No matter how much she begged, she couldn't do it. Wasn't he a tough guy just now? You have to pay for the consequences of your cheap mouth. The shop owner also found his ex-wife unpleasant, so he took the surveillance camera and left with Zach. The fat woman sat on the ground paralyzed and wanted to cry, but had no tears. What a sin! If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have scolded him. I'm so free, After spending half a day, the surveillance cameras were finally installed. They were all hidden with wireless reception. Zach checked and found that the results were quite clear. Now he could relax, at least when he was not at home. Others would be discovered when they came in. Zach really didn't want the G63. The key was that the car repairs were quite high. The front bumper was broken, the cover of the plane was wrinkled, and the airbag was rebounded. There might even be a problem with the engine compartment. He had to repair it, even if he wanted to get it back. He had to spend a lot of effort to repair it. It was the New Year model, so he didn't need to spend much effort to buy himself a new car. As for the G63, if he could get it out in one day, he would repair it and throw it into the company. It would be better to be a public car. After leaving home, he would look after the car by himself. It was boring, so Zach called Zanya. Zanya felt very surprised when she received Zach's call. I thought you forgot about me, Zach asked. Why? Did you find a boyfriend? Zanya quickly replied, No, I just felt that you did not call me for a long time. I thought you did not want to contact me anymore, so I didn't dare to contact you. What she said was the truth. Zach had heard about this from Larry. Larry often arranged public relation tasks for Zanya, while Zanya sent her little sisters to run clients. Because of this, Larry was quite familiar with Zanya's situation. He would occasionally tell Zach about it. However, Zach was too busy before, so he didn't have time to contact her. All right, let's talk about it when we meet. Come and find me. After giving her a location, Zach hung up. It did not take long. About 10 minutes later, Zanya hurriedly took a taxi and came over. Zach originally hoped that she would drive him to see the new car, but he didn't expect Zanya to call a taxi over. Zach asked with a surprise, "Where's your car?" Zanya replied, "I don't have a car." This made Zach feel rather surprised, but thinking about it carefully, Zanya really did not seem to have driven a car before. Then, do you know how to drive? Yes, I do, but I haven't driven for a long time. I don't know if I have the hands. Driving was like riding a bicycle. As long as she learned how to drive, it would be a lifetime. Zach nodded. That's good. Go with me to buy a car. I'll give you one too. If it was in the past, Zanya would definitely be very happy. But now she was no longer the Zanya from before. She waved her hand and said, "No need. I have money. I can't even drive it when I go to work." "You are not allowed to refuse the things I give you," Zach said, domineeringly.